Hey guys, today I'd like to continue on this big data analysis, but actually, like I said, a lot of or most of Andrew Yan's interviews on YouTube have a very high like to dislikes ratio, but I occasionally found this one weird video where the like to dislike ratio is relatively low, and I'd like to share that video with you. It's an interview by Laura Ingraham from Fox News, and share with you some of my thoughts, and also towards the end I'm gonna share an article showing that Laura actually is she recently started to turn yang. Alright, let's get started. So this one is the Joe Rogan show. The famous Joe Rogan show has 4.6 million views, and you see the like to dislike ratio is higher than 10 to 1. And that's just true to most of Andrew Yan's interviews. If you click on
Do you think it's that weak? I do. The market is going to zero out more and more of this over time. And we can pretend that it's still
very high like to dislike ratio. But it is this one video that caught my attention. So this one, like to dislike ratio, is only about 3.4 to 1. That's weird. And that's Laura Ingraham from Fox News interviewing Andrew Yang. So let's listen to it.
Yang thinks he has the answer and joins me now. Andrew, first of all, thank you very much for being on with us tonight. We really appreciate it. Seattle is one of the most beautiful cities in the country. It just is. I mean, San Francisco, Seattle, San Diego, they're spectacular places. What can be done that's not being done now in this beautiful city, given the leadership that's in place and given the enormity of the problems?
Well, the cost of living in Seattle and San Francisco, both of them have skyrocketed over the last number of months. And so my plan would put $1,000 a month into the hands of every American adult, and that would create an economic incentive for cities to be able to invest in people who are struggling with substance abuse or homelessness, and hopefully get the economic resources in place to provide them a path forward, and in some cases even access to shelter and housing.
So you think $1,000 a month is going to make much of a difference here? Because it seems like we're way beyond that. I mean, I remember Gavin Newsom when he was mayor of San Francisco, or on the city council, I think city council, he actually came in. It was a day I started my radio show. It was back in 2001 in April. He came in and he said giving cash to the homeless was a disaster. So Gavin Newsom, that we did cards. So we gave them cards for extra food, I think, and shelter maybe. But they found the cash payments didn't work at all. In fact, it just incentivized people to be more or less industrious, I would say. And that's the problem. And Andrew, just on the money, according to Cato, I guess it was since the war on poverty was declared, what was that, 1964? We've spent about $23 trillion. So didn't seem to help us, at least in the cities.
Oh my gosh. So first of all, I have to explain it. Andrew Yang was working so hard, so he was probably sick at that time. You've seen him on almost any of the shows you can think about, right? He's even been on Fox News a lot of times, and so that's why his voice is unusual. I mean, it sounds doesn't sound his in a very good condition. But wait a minute, Laura, you are interviewing Andrew Yang, but you are speaking like 70% of the time. I mean, you started from an okay question, right? But then you cast your doubt, and this is $1,000 works, and I mean we're way beyond that, and blah blah blah. It's it's so annoying. I'm sorry, I'm talking probably too much, but this is one of the few occasions I feel okay to interrupt, just like she did.
Well, the question is, where did that money go, Laura? And my plan would put economic resources directly into our hands, and it would create, again, an economic path forward for many people who right now are struggling and don't have access to so let's say treatment for substance abuse problems or mental health issues, because right now we have to face facts where these problems are growing in many of our cities and our current programs are not well designed to handle this particular problem, because in large part, if there's someone who's lying on the street, there's not right now an economic incentive to help that person get back on their feet.
Right. The problem is, though, is you give $1,000 to a guy on the street. Not everybody. Some people are just down on their luck, but there is a significant percentage of people, and we know from just 2 blocks from where we are now, there's a homeless shelter. A lot of people have a lot of problems. There are drug problems. There's mental health issues. So giving $1,000 to a person who already has a mental health problem is probably not going to do the job. That money's probably going to go quickly be spent on things that are going to get that individual into more problems. That's, I think, the concern of just giving cash to people, because they're obviously not making good decisions, many of them, to get into the position they're in already in a very expensive city. But I want to read you a statement, hold on, Andrew, that you made just a few weeks ago to Newsweek. You said, when I've talked to Trump voters around the country, they've said that they're disappointed in what they've gotten from the administration. They feel like a lot of it was bluster and hot air. But a recent Goldman Sachs study found that wage growth has picked up sharply. Bottom 50% of wage earners are making more. Consumer confidence is up. Got other metrics up at 71% since the beginning of polling on confidence in the economy. People think things are going to get better. So this idea that nothing's working with Trump, I just think that's an overstatement at best.
Well, I've been around the country.
All right. Sorry, I have to interrupt you. Laura, this is so disrespectful. I mean, you're interviewing Andrew Yang, but you were talking like 80% of the time. And when Andrew tried to answer your question, is that you're saying, "Oh, wait a minute, Andrew. I haven't finished my statement. You know, I haven't finished my question. My question is just 3 minutes long." It's just insane. I mean, she has some points there. I give her that. That is, a lot of people were skeptical about universal basic income or freedom dividend because they think of this as just a simple handout, and if you give money to people who are already in bad situations, that may just get things worse and things like that. I mean, that's the most common skepticism about universal basic income. Let's see how Andrew Yang addressed that question.
Country now, and a lot of people don't feel like they're connected to a lot of the statistics that are coming out. And if you remember Donald Trump, the candidate in 2015, he said that a lot of these headline unemployment numbers were misleading and they don't report what's happening on the ground. And then now that he's in the White House, he's singing a very different tune. The experience I'm having when I talk to voters around the country is that 78% of them are living paycheck to paycheck, 57% can't afford an unexpected $500 bill.
I think you're right about that. There's a lot of people who still are vulnerable. They're still feeling insecure. But this has been going on for, 20 years? They've had flatlining income for 18 years preceding Trump. Finally, it's going up. But it's back to leadership, though, Andrew, because I think you're someone, I don't maybe agree with you, but you're someone who seems like you want to solve things. You want to solve problems, and I respect that. Forbes says the top 5 cities in the United States with the largest homeless populations are the following. It's not surprising. So New York, LA, Seattle, San Diego, San Jose. Now, 4 of 5 of these cities are run by Democrats. So how is liberal governance working out for these cities? I mean, my hometown of Hartford, outside of Hartford, Connecticut, but Hartford, Connecticut, it's having real problems, had problems for a long time. Always liberal leadership in Hartford. Detroit, Chicago has big challenges. It's not like these are raging conservative districts of the country, Andrew.
Now, that's one reason why we need to build a trickle-up economy that works for everyone by putting economic resources directly into people's hands. Because we're in the midst of this winner-take-all economy. You can certainly see it in our urban areas where there are rich and poor living next to each other in very different circumstances. And unfortunately, the dynamics of our economy are just going to become even more extremely polarized as technology starts transforming industries like retail, transportation, food service, and on and on. So we need to wake up to the fact that we're in the midst of the greatest economic transformation in our country's history and start moving in a direction of just putting economic resources directly into our hands, because we're the owners
Well, those are
and shareholders
handouts.
of this
That's
country.
the problem. I mean, did anyone give you a handout to start or work at Manhattan Prep? You started that, right? Was that your baby?
No, well, that was my baby, and we've all had hand in different
Yeah, but
ways.
you did really well. You were really, I mean, you're a really successful entrepreneur, and you work really hard, and everyone gets help. But did anyone hand you $1,000 to get you going? I mean,
well, a lot of people, including entrepreneurs, have something in the way
you're a
of family
capitalist,
support.
in other words. Yeah, you're a successful capitalist, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you've become a huge success because of the market and because of your hard work and because of your work ethic. All of that together, your family, I imagine. Not everybody has a family who supports them, but that combined to really work for you.
Well,
Again, I mean, Laura, come on. You just kept interrupting Andrew Yang, and I mean, you're saying you respect Andrew Yang because he is trying to solve the problem. I respect that. I mean, I respected you before I listened to this interview, right? I mean, but it just simply changed my mind. And you were talking most of the time when you interview a presidential candidate. You're just not letting him speak. That's just so disrespectful. It's just so unprofessional, right? I mean, your role here is to propose the question and let the candidate explain his stance, the rationale behind it, and his key policies, and how that would help the society, how that would solve the problems for our society. But instead, you are just keep casting doubts. I mean, you just call this a handout and then say, oh, you're a capitalist. Did anybody give you the handouts to make you succeed? And blah blah blah. I mean, it's not difficult to imagine if the freedom dividend was in place earlier. Andrew Yang would have probably become more successful. I mean, he didn't rely on this, but it wouldn't hurt. And the freedom, with the freedom dividend $1,000 a month in everybody's hand, I mean, Andrew Yang would probably be able to create more, train more entrepreneurs, right, from his Venture for America, because Venture America was, there is a nonprofit that Andrew Yang has run for 7 years to create thousands of jobs, through this entrepreneurship. So he, teach those people to become successful entrepreneurs. And if imagine everyone's getting $1,000 a month, right? That's like a small grant coming every month. That wouldn't hurt. That would actually be very, very helpful to start your own business. Anyways, let's finish this.
Well, and that's the great thing about putting these economic resources into our hands is it'll give more people an opportunity to start businesses. It would create 2 million new jobs in the economy. It would reward hard work, because right now many Americans might have a great idea, but they're stuck with their heads down and they're not able to build around them and build a new business.
I maintain this is the best time in my lifetime to be an American. If you want to work and you want a job, the sky is the limit right now, I think. But Andrew, we really appreciate your joining us tonight. It's a really interesting conversation.
Oh, all right. It's such a pain. Anyways, I think if I were Andrew, I would probably be have been offended, and I might say something like, "Oh, Laura, it was great to have you on Yang Angles. I'd like to know more about your policies as a candidate. What is your campaign slogan? Ingraham 2020. Is it Ingraham 2020? Let me speak. Anyways, that's just kidding. But yeah, I appreciate Andrew Yang being so patient and polite, and didn't show any discomfort or anything. Let's take a quick look at the views, the comments. Oh, this wasn't his A game. He seems sick. Hope this gets better. Yeah, I mean, he was really working really hard, and I watched many interviews with Yan. The interviewer, this one is the worst, maybe the worst. She literally spoke more than Andrew Yan did in a whole segment, and she didn't shut the hell up for more than 5 seconds straight. So annoying. Yeah, a lot of people share this feeling. Yeah, it's so. I was so disappointed. But, anyways, yeah. Yes, the good of talking over your guest interview tactic, because you can challenge the real points of the argument. Well, I mean, Laura tried to be the data person here, right? She's showing the numbers and, proposing her arguments. Andrew needs to step up and say what he was going to say, regardless if someone tries to interrupt him. And I think that's actually pretty important in the debates, probably. I mean, Andrew Yang has a very nice personality. Like, he's not easily offended, but to get more speaking time and stuff like that, I think it might be good to go against someone if there is something arguable. And last but not least, actually, let's take a look at what Laura think of Andrew later on. So the previous interview was from, I believe, probably 6 months ago. So this one was conducted May the 24th, 2019. And this article, right, this interview with Laura Ingraham, is from September 26th, so that's about 4 months later, by Gary Duff from Capital File. And here, let's take a look at this very quick. So, actually, from here we can actually see Laura is pro-Trump, right? Is anything the president has done that's alarmed or bothered you? I think it's that no one in public office suffers from 100% infallibility. On numerous occasions, I've contended there's no need for the president to swing at every pitch, to hit back at every criticism, while I understand that temptation is just not productive and ends up obscuring the many positive results he has delivered for the American people. So she still thinks Trump did a lot of good things, and he just needed to speak less, which I agree. Trump, when he spoke, a lot of times he talked about stupid things. And what warrants a second Trump term for you? What issues do you think will define the 2020 election? Peace and prosperity. Our economy is the envy of the G7. No other country comes close. This means real money in the pocket in Americans who work hard to support their family. So she is supporting Trump a second term, and she thinks Trump did pretty well. And after the latest round of Democratic debates, is there anyone who is remotely satisfied to watch for you? I found Andrew Yang to be the most interesting. That's Laura Ingraham. He at least has real-world business experience. A failed Senate candidate, a mayor of a small Indiana city with its own problems, and a slew of other senators with frankly unimpressive track records. None strike me as plausible threats to the incumbent president at this time, but as we know, the electorate's mood can turn sour fairly quickly if the economy, for whatever reason, spirals downward. She actually respects Andrew Yang, right? After the debates, and she said, "Oh, Andrew Yang actually is the most interesting." So now she's, turning Yang Gang, and it's kind of, the tone sounds a lot like Tucker now, and she said Andrew Yang has the real world business experiences, and she probably didn't meant that Andrew Yang is like Donald Trump, right? Except Yang didn't win bankruptcy, and other candidates are not successful and not impressive. Okay, so we have seen that Andrew Yang was able to completely change Laura Ingraham, like even a tough person's opinion. A person like Laura Ingraham. Initially, she kind of disrespected Andrew Yang and had this very unprofessional interview. But then, after she watched Andrew Yang's performances, debate performances, and looked into Andrew Yang's ideas, she actually found Andrew Yang's ideas fascinating, most interesting, and she actually does not exclude the possibility that someone like Andrew Yang could become a plausible threat to Donald Trump, and especially if the economy goes the other way. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for your attention. Like and subscribe and comment below.